shiny, shiny, plastic, black mirror fascist, obsessed capitalist. Are you feeling guilty Catholic? Pretty, picturesque Facebook status, happy family, happy marriage, like the magazine pages, superimposed with Photoshop and happy faces, where cancer doesn't exist, and your daddy lives for ages, and the black babies with the swollen bellies are only moments on your telly until you switch it off and put your makeup on. So walk your dog vegan and put your makeup on, posing perfectly pouting and put your makeup on. Hypocrite, selfie, snowflake nation, not making a difference, not voting, not independence, cause it's irrelevant to how your hair grows. You're pretty, and it's a pity that you're prepared to perpetuate your particulars on Instagram and prefer not to educate and overcomplicate an avocado. Like you know the answers to the problems of this world. Meditation and mindful. How about realistically having kids to feed on minimum wage and suicidal without letting your wife know? Cause I don't kill myself for fashion, not a psycho for the sake of it. Hate the name of it and really ashamed of it. I hate your glossy, double tongue, so in circle, talky, trashy magazine. Like Sebastian's dreams, your friends are just old plastic, and it's lonely out there. I don't care about your implants or artificial intelligence, agony ants, chitty chat irrelevance, designer shirt and pants. So keep on spending, goodbye pretty people. It's such an ugly ending, keep pretending, keep on telling yourself that you're so important, like everyone else. Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty people. Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty people. Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty. Fight for your rights, but you die to lose.
Goodbye, pretty people, I'll miss you. All your little giggling and self-serving circles, self-absorbed, oh shallow surface, all that fucking money and totally worthless, in entirety distractive. A life without purpose, your embodiment is everything wrong. Emboldened by a Harvey Nicks arrogance, echo chamber, industrial multiplier, factory line features, adjusted plastic artifice, cosmetically cybernetic immortality, activist agents. Away with your moisturizing skin armor nonsense, swigging beard lotion against Georgian backdrop. One sleeves tops are a symptom of civilization in decline. Beggars rocking £100 traders with metallic shell toes. Designer baby accessories with perfect lips and a pre-birth sense of what looks fucking fabulous. It's ridiculous, marvelous, purebred, beautiful offspring of the embassy, laughing at the wannabes that think that greed is power. The hours tick by and all you want is everything endless. You are now living in the culture with a locust consumer target population, pool of fashion, housing, online grooming saloons. Pretty predator class, deadly privilege picking flesh of the populace fast. The terrorist victim look is this year's heroin chic. Superior models to snap them pop-up bomb sites, pop-up prescription antidepressants, propping up them rearranged in artistical splatter patterns. Little ray of ignorant exception at the tipping point. You dragged to the ground but the teeth of that natural selection. We defecate upon your form, prone upon your back and bleeding in round the scissor man. Snicker, snack. Your entrified empathy, ultimately empty, dead heart, pretty face, piss upon your memory.
Pretty people, pretty people. Pretty people. Pretty people, pretty people.
Oh, Unroyal, thank you so much. I just gave the speech of a lifetime. It was the most passionate speech ever. No, I'm just kidding. No, all I said was that Graz is doing what looks like a Christmas special tonight. Looks pretty interesting. So as soon as I'm done here, I'm gonna go hang out over there with those guys. I try to keep an eye out, but really I was too busy kind of putting my live together. It's more news based. So like I said, I'm gonna be over there. And again, on Royal, thank you so much for that. But this is what we got on the itinerary. Some breaking news. You know, I like to give you at least 2 articles of some true crime news. So we're going to check that out. We will go into 2 similar cases in regards to Delphi. One is the Karen Perez case, and one is out of London, Kaylee Haywood. So we're going to talk about those cases. They're just brief overviews. So anybody that knows those cases while we're talking about them, if you want to throw out any information or facts, it's always welcome. These are not deep dives by any means necessary. So once we're finished with those 2 cases, Karen Perez and Kaylee Haywood, we will be jumping into FBI profiling. I do have some stuff on John Douglas. I have also something that I found by a rambunctious little female journalist. I thought it was noteworthy to kind of play some of her information. She's been interviewing some serial killers in her local area. So I thought that was interesting. Not a lot of links are going to be in the description. Really, all you need to do is type in these names and you can find them. I usually don't find these cases on YouTube. I do. I look more like on Google and things like that, searching archives and stuff like that. So the first case here, let me switch up the platform.
Lee Sampson, a mass.
Okay. So this is out of New Hampshire. This is a serial killer. His name is Lee Sampson. I didn't really know about him until I started kind of searching breaking news and certain things today involving serial killers and cold cases and similar signatures and MOs that we think we know that occurred with Delphi. So, for those of you who are not familiar, like I wasn't, Gary Lee Sampson is the name of this person, and the details will be included in this news report. Take a look.
Gary Lee Sampson, a mass murderer who admitted to and was convicted of killing 3 men over the course of a few days in 2001, all strangers, died in federal prison yesterday at the Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri. He was 62. Sampson's attorney confirmed his death, as did the Federal Bureau of Prisons. His victims were Jonathan Rizzo, 19, Philip McCluskey, 69, and Robert Whitney, 58, in New Hampshire. Sampson, who grew up on the South Shore, was sentenced to death in 2003. That sentencing later overturned by a federal judge in 2011 based on juror misconduct.
The families felt very strongly that they wanted to see this happen. We supported that decision, and we certainly went through with it.
A retrial ensued, and the victims' families had to relive the harrowing details. It concluded with a second sentencing to death by a federal jury in 2017. Carmen Ortiz was the U.S. attorney at the time and was with the victims' families when they wanted to go through with a second trial.
When I heard about
That's
Mr.
some gangster
Sampson's
shit.
death, I really didn't think about Gary Sampson. I thought about the Rizzos, I thought about the McCluskeys, I thought about the Whitneys.
And the official cause of death will be determined by the medical examiner in Missouri, not the Bureau of Prisons.
Crazy. Okay, so I promised you 2 articles of true crime news. That was just one. This one, they're kind of both on a positive note. Like, I mean, it's kind of sad that a guy died, but it was a serial killer, so it's really not that sad. This one is on a positive note, but it's not absolute. But for those of you who are unaware, take a look.
Thank Chief Morales. I want to thank the officers of the City of Miami Police Department. On the eve of Christmas, we have a very dangerous person off of the streets now. I also want to announce that we are down close to 23% in homicides this year and down 90 shootings this year. That's something that is very different from what's happening in other cities across America. And so I want to commend the work of the chief. I want to commend the work of his executive staff.
Good one.
And the work of the men and women in blue every single day who are
Easy, Lee Harvey. Easy.
In very difficult circumstances. It's the toughest job in America. And they do it with pride, they do it with grace, and they do it with extreme competence. And so I want to allow our chief to make the announcement of the arrest that was made today.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Suarez. I'm Interim Chief Manny Morales of the Miami Police Department, and I'd like to thank Major Suarez, Commissioners King and Manolo Reyes for being here.
Florida.
The commissioners out of town couldn't be here, but without their unwavering support, the men and women of the Miami Police Department would not be able to do effectively what we do each and every day, which is to go out there and keep our community safe. Give you a brief timeline of the incidents that took place that led to the arrest of Willie Maceo Suarez. Tuesday, December 21st, at approximately 8 p.m., we had a witness that flagged down one of our police officers that was on patrol in the area 400 Southwest 2nd Avenue and advised the officer there was a victim that appeared to be suffering from blunt trauma to the head. The investigation quickly revealed that the victim was suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. Requested rescue. That individual is in extreme critical condition and is being treated at Jackson Memorial Hospital in trauma. As this investigation was unfolding down very near to where we are right here at the administration building, very close, 2 hours later, at approximately 9:57 p.m.
Search for Kaylee Haywood was today.
21st Street units responded reference a 911 call where a complainant saw a victim unresponsive on the ground. Units arrived and discovered a black male deceased from an apparent shotgun wound. The investigation began. Officers quickly connected the two incidents, not only because of the short span of time between the two shootings, but because both incidents involved victims that were homeless. As the investigation continued, the members of our criminal investigations unit, led by Chief Aguilar and Major Cook from our criminal investigation division, began scouring for not only physical evidence, but electronic evidence, and were able to discover a video of the shooting on Miami Avenue, where it revealed that a black vehicle had driven up to the location where the victim was laying down on the ground and shot at him several times. Victim fled. Subsequently, the investigation revealed the type of vehicle and the tag. The physical evidence on the scene of both crimes quickly were matched by our ballistics experts, and we were able to identify a vehicle and a person of interest, Mr. Suarez. Our tactical robbery units dispatched throughout the city were able to make contact with the vehicle, with the suspect who was in possession of a firearm matching the caliber used in both homicides. As they took him to the station to further the investigation, one of the lead investigators noticed a resemblance that the suspect of this incident had to a crime that took place back in October 16, right in the area of Miami Avenue, Miami and First Street, where another homeless individual was horrifically murdered. There were still images that have been published to the media and the public, and the resemblance led us to believe that there was a possible connection, and this individual is connected. Through the help of our federal partners, we were able to match the ballistic evidence to the weapon Mr. Suarez had in his possession to both the murder on Miami Avenue and the attempted murder nearby here at the 400 blocks of Southwest 2nd Avenue. We need the public's help. If they have any information that might help our investigation, get us any closer to developing probable cause of the incident that took place on October 16, and we'll make sure that you guys have the public distribution flyers, that they can come forward and assist us. We truly appreciate that. We also want to alert our local law enforcement partners if they have any crimes that match the criteria or match the same method of operation, which homeless individuals for apparent no reason have been brutally targeted, to reach out to us, to our homicide unit at 305-603-6350, so we can link up the clues and assist us in trying to bring this individual to justice on the third crime. Mr.
It's fucked
Suarez is going to be arrested today for attempted murder on the first
California
incident,
too, I believe.
and subsequently for murder on the incident on Miami Avenue.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I thought that was a messed up story. So he was driving up to the homeless people thinking, hey, if I'm going to be a killer, I'm going to kill homeless people. He's not the first person to do it. There used to be a guy that used to run up to homeless people sleeping on the streets and he would bash their head in with a hammer. And I think they set up a sting for him where it was like a dummy, and he ran up and tried to bash the dummy, and then they ended up catching his ass and got him. And then there was another case I was watching on the First 48 where there was a gentleman. He was driving apparently he would drive up on the sidewalk where homeless people were sleeping and just kind of drive over the top of them. They caught that dude too. So I don't know, it's just fucking crazy. What's wrong with these people? Okay, so the first case we're going to look into that has similarities with the Delphi. Now, the reason that we look into these cases, all these cases, their suspects were caught. They were tried and convicted. So we can look at the case, we can look at the similarities, and then we can look at the suspects, and then we can see what we can make of it all. Because we all know that most of the information that comes from the FBI, anybody that does their homework when it comes to this, this whole true crime stuff, we know that the FBI only learns about the psychopathy of a serial killer after they've been caught. Not only is it after they've been caught, but they have to be willing to talk. So once they sit down, and who knows if they're telling the truth, they can just be manipulating. But that's the truth. It's usually after the fact. That's until, and we'll get into profiling here towards the end of the show, and then that's when it starts turning into an art form. So we'll look into that. But right now, this is Kaylee Haywood. The murder of Kaylee Haywood. She was a 15-year-old girl from, forgive me because this is from England. So it's Measham, Leicestershire. Somewhere, it's in England. This took place in November of 2015, and it also was following online grooming by a man named Luke Harlow. He was 20. He was a 27-year-old man who had contacted her on social networking website Facebook. Okay, so this is why I thought it was important to talk about it. These guys were grooming and reaching out and talking. And for those of you that don't know what grooming is, it's something that happens over time. They gain your trust. Usually it's through catfishing, but grooming can happen in person with a family member, a friend, a neighbor, somebody that slowly gains the trust of a child or the victim, and over time lowers their guard. So that's what grooming is. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Okay, so it appears that this gentleman, Luke Harlow, okay,
To include a field outside the Leicestershire village of Belton.
this is going to be 3 parts.
Police have discovered her mobile phone and items of.
This will be 3 parts. I think I got 3 videos. It's basically the intro, kind of the news media in regards to the missing persons. The second, they haven't located her, but they did find further evidence, and they did interview her brother, and they did talk about signs of this potentially being a murder case. And then I think it goes into the actual people who were arrested for this. So take it all in. If you can see any signs when it comes to the psychology of a killer who might do this, somebody who's grooming or reaching out to children online, they both look like, a bridge guy type thing. So I don't know. It's all very spooky and seems to be a pattern. So we'll take a look.
The search for Kaylee Haywood was today widened to include a field outside the Leicestershire village of Belton. Police have discovered her mobile phone and items of clothing thought to belong to her. The 15-year-old schoolgirl has now been missing for 5 days, and police fear she may have been murdered.
As inquiries have been completed, we've become increasingly concerned that she may have come to harm. And today, we have told the family that we are treating her disappearance as a murder inquiry.
Kaylee's parents dropped her off at this college at 6 o'clock on Friday evening. They had contact with her on Saturday morning, but they've not heard from her since.
Police have also been searching Sense Valley Forest Park, where they believe Kaylee may have been seen on Saturday afternoon. 2 men aged 27 and 28 who were arrested on suspicion of kidnap have been rearrested on suspicion of murder. At Kaylee's local church in Ibstock, they are now holding a candlelit vigil.
Yes, she's been to the church certainly once or twice. She's got a friend here in the church, and she's got some extended family here as well.
What was she like?
Quite a bright, bubbly, lovely girl, really, I would say.
Hayley's parents have described her as a loving girl, and like everyone here, they are deeply worried about what may have happened to her. Kayleigh Hayes, 5 News.
It's funny that you say that because I agree with you. So this is going to be part 2, but I wanted to talk with KA. That's a good point. I have an idea that guys that do stuff like this are incels, and incels are a real thing. I mean, we had that one incident with the mass shooting with the guy with that was an incel, and this isn't a derogatory term. This is something that certain people they'll refer to themselves as incels. They'll identify as an incel. I think it's somebody that's interested in sex but can't achieve it, either for whatever reason. some type of OCD type situation. Either, you know, they have issues with women, or they have a criteria, so it makes it difficult for them. But anyway, that would make anybody frustrated. You know what I mean? So here's part 2.
Searching for missing teenager Kaylee Haywood have found a body in a field in Leicestershire in the UK. The discovery was made at around 10 p.m. last night, although formal identification is yet to take place. Speaking before the body was found, her brother, Kayleigh Haywood, said he's terrified for his younger sister.
Now I feel hopeless.
Do you allow yourself to think that she might not be alive?
A bit.
It must be really difficult when the police start using words like murder.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I've got to keep strong for my mum and my dad and the rest.
15-year-old Kaylee has not been seen since about 6 p.m. on Friday, November the 13th, when she was dropped off outside this college. 2 men aged 27 and 28 remain in police custody, arrested on suspicion of murder.
Damn. So that was part 2. Kind of goes into it a little bit, kind of what happened. But I mean, it's extremely similar. Now let's jump right into part 3 so we can keep it moving.
Identify the body, but they've informed Kaylee's parents, suggesting that this is the news that they've been dreading ever since they dropped their 15-year-old daughter off at college last Friday. Now, where I am is around 100 yards from the Sents Valley Forest Park, where the search has been focused over the last 6 days, and we know that the body was found in a field in this area where, well, we think we saw some police activity in the early hours of this morning as well. Now, we know the grim discovery was made at around 10 o'clock last night, just hours after her family issued a statement where they said that they were devastated without their daughter, that their family felt incomplete and that they shed tear after tear since her disappearance. So terribly sad news. So what happens now? Well, police will move forward with their investigation. As you say, they have 2 men in their 20s in custody. They've now been arrested on suspicion of murder. And a key line of inquiry will be Kaylee's Facebook page, with friends and family both saying that she was speaking to a man online in the run-up to her disappearance.
Damn. Did you hear that? That was the most important part there. So I hope you guys caught it, because that's what we do here on the Sleuth Intuition channels. We talk about the Delphi case. Why? I don't know. If you can tell me why, I'll make a video about it. So that's the reason we talked about that case. The next case is about Karen Perez. And this one is as equally, if not more, disturbing, unfortunately. But in true crime, that's what we do, is we face the disturbia. Somebody has to. Can't ignore it, or you become a victim of it, right? Well, try to educate ourselves anyway. If not for our family. Okay. So for anybody just joining us, we just went over Kaylee Haywood. That's a case out of London. You can catch it on the replay. We're getting ready to take a look at Karen Perez. Now this one is just as equally interesting, but definitely more upsetting, in my opinion.
Take a look at this.
Okay, so what's going on here? I'm going to run that back. So this is Karen Perez. On May 27th of 2016, She vanished in Houston. It was all over the news. So in Houston, Texas. She was found dead in an abandoned apartment days later, and her boyfriend was an early suspect. Now, what's messed up is this apartment complex is right in her neighborhood and right across the street from her high school or her school. So, like somebody dropped the ball on this one.
Take a look at this surveillance video. Karen Perez's family says it's of 15-year-old Karen, her boyfriend, and another guy friend arriving at the taqueria right next door to South Houston High School on Friday at noon. They say it's one of the last times anyone saw the teen alive. No. The group sits and stays here about 10 minutes, and as you can see, they all leave. Restaurant workers say 6 hours later, her boyfriend returns alone.
He asked if we can let him use the phone, and
hey,
let him use the phone. He called his mom to come pick him up.
Relatives say by 6 p.m. Friday, Karen was missing. They say the 15-year-old never returned home from
Daddy?
South Houston High School.
And the thing is, she just had her quinceañera, April 9th. She just celebrated it.
Oh my God.
Tim Miller with Texas EquiSearch was helping to look for
See,
the
us
15-year-old and discovered her
that
body a few hours ago, just after 10 p.m. on Memorial Day.
It's a big deal.
The teen was partially clothed and hidden inside a kitchen cabinet in a second-floor apartment of this abandoned complex.
It's so very, very obvious that many, many kids have skipped school, ended up in these apartments.
This is the place where fights would happen and everything that would be considered bad in school that you're not supposed to do in school would happen.
Hang out, and probably some of them smoking pot, having sex.
Smoking pot?
Pretty incredible, some of the things that we found in the apartments.
South Houston police have arrested a juvenile for the murder of 15-year-old Karen Perez.
She was always so happy. Anything you told her, she
Just
always
got me.
hugged you. And we're not gonna have that anymore.
Warning. Tearjerker. It goes more. Actually, there's a better interview with her here. Sorry. Not the tearjerker. False alarm. So. Let's check out the chat a little bit here. What's up, Jenny? Jenny says, "What up, Big Daddy?" They don't call him Big Daddy for nothing. Mandy, gang, gang. We representing. Yeah, it's really fucked up. I mean, if anything, this is like driver's ed for fathers. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at true crime. It's just driver's ed for a father, especially a father who has daughters. You know what I mean? Shit. All right, let's finish up part 2. I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to go hang out with Graz here as soon as we can. We're not going to rush, but that's definitely what I plan to do.
Breaking into the search for a local missing teen. The body of a missing 15-year-old was found in an abandoned apartment complex in South Houston. Karen Perez had not been seen since Friday. Now we're getting a look at surveillance video showing the last moments before she disappeared. Channel 2's Bill Spencer is live, and Bill, you spoke with several members of her family. Obviously, they are devastated by her loss.
They are devastated, and they are also angry about this abandoned apartment complex you see right behind me. It is a dangerous place, the family says, where local kids from the high school come to get drunk, to smoke pot, do dangerous drugs, and have sex. A padlock on the front gate just isn't enough to keep the kids out. These are the last frames of video showing 15-year-old Karen Perez alive. She had gone to this South Houston taqueria with her boyfriend and another boy last Friday afternoon about 12 noon. Moments later, she vanished.
They found a dead body and they think it's Karen Perez.
That's bad around here because I have 3 kids of my own around here, you know, and I wouldn't want none of that to happen to my kids.
But late last night, Texas EquiSearch members found the brutally murdered body of Karen Perez stuffed inside a kitchen cabinet here at the filthy, abandoned Allen Arms apartment complex.
I hear a lot of bad stories.
Today, the murdered girl's family is calling for action, saying it's high time somebody, the school district, the police, or someone tear down or lock up this abandoned apartment complex before other crimes can be committed here.
Everybody knows when the kids, they skip, they come here to this property. You can tell they skip for long periods because they have food, drinks, cigarettes, marijuana, condoms.
Karen's family says this abandoned complex located right across the street from South Houston High School has become a dangerous place. Karen shouldn't have had to die here.
Something could have been done to stop everything.
Now, right at this hour, South Houston police tell us they have one teenager in custody in connection with this murder. He is 15 or 16 years old. Sources tell us he is Karen Perez's boyfriend. He is expected to be charged with murder tomorrow morning. In South Houston, Bill Spencer, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Damn. That's all I got to say about that. Man. Keep an eye on your children. Looking at this Delphi case and looking at the crimes that happen between the ages of 14 and 13, and then thinking about the crazy shit that I went through when I was that age. Oh, man. Be careful. It's a tricky age. Very tricky. Kids are going through a lot. Parents are going through a lot. It just kind of, boom, if you ain't paying attention, you gotta lose control quickly. So what we're gonna get into now is some FBI profiling. I think we will start with an interview with John Douglas that if you've seen it, that's great, but this is kind of like something that I've archived for a minute, and it's just kind of more of an instructional manual. So let's take a look at that.
Hustler publisher Larry Flint and targeted victims across the country based on their race. He died by execution in 2013. Law and Crime's Ann Jeanette Levy has an exclusive interview with the FBI profiler who's written a book about helping to nab Franklin.
John Douglas spent many years as an FBI agent, and he's credited with creating the art of FBI profiling. He has written books in the past, and he has a new book out entitled Killer Shadow. It's about Joseph Paul Franklin, a prolific serial killer. John Douglas, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell us about the latest book and why you decided to focus on Joseph Paul Franklin.
Joseph Paul Franklin was really going to be a make or break case for me as a young FBI agent at the FBI Academy, developing this new concept called criminal profiling. And the FBI heads and headquarters were watching from a distance. They heard about the research I was doing with serial murders around the United States and the cases that I was doing for local police. But I'd only been doing it for about 3 years. And then one day in October 1980, I get a call from a Dave Cole. He's a supervisor in the Civil Rights Division. He said, John, we know you've been doing this research. We have this offender named Joseph Paul Franklin. We don't know where he is. He just escaped now from a jail in Kentucky. he's killed over 20 people. Do you think you can help us out? And I said, really? I said, I don't know. I said, I'll give it a whirl. So they said, come on up to headquarters. I went up to headquarters, got boxes of material, brought that back down to Quantico. But before I left, they even said, hey, John, if you screw up this one here,
Quantico.
you're working cattle rustling cases in Butte, Montana. So, do a good job.
Did you just see a pattern there, or what kind of
That's that real
led you to
FBI shit.
bring him together as the suspect in all of these killings?
Yeah. Well, who put it together really was the FBI lab and state labs around the country that put it all together through forensics. So it wasn't that, because that's what made it so difficult. Because you look for the MO is different in every one of these cases. The signature was the victims. He was targeting a racist couple.
Pay attention.
Couple, I should say. He was targeting Jews coming out of synagogue. So it was a very, very complex case to assess. So by looking at my role and goal was to see what are his strengths and weaknesses. They didn't know where he was in the United States. And what I said was, he'll be in Mobile. And I went out and I told them why. The rationale behind it is that this inadequate nobody, his only accomplishment really in life were the crimes that he perpetrated, particularly bank robberies in the Mobile area. Plus he was married twice. And first time he was 17, married a girl 16, divorced after 4 months. He then at 27 marries a 16-year-old girl, has a child. That child is in Mobile, Alabama. So like a homing pigeon, I felt that he'd be gravitating back to Mobile, as well as to different blood donor places where he would sell his plasma. And sure enough,
I didn't hear of him either.
Those days was with teletype, wasn't emails and that kind of stuff. The teletype goes out. The agent in charge of the Mobile office says, John, he says, we spotted him in Mobile. You're right. He said, what? Banker savings alone? I don't know. I picked the city. I can't tell you. It's like, what's the address of a killer? When you do a profile, you can't provide that. And so got that information, and they flooded the blood banks and surveilled the banks and savings and loans. And then he was spotted leaving Mobile, and he ended up down in Florida, and we caught him at a blood bank.
What do you want readers to kind of take away?
Graveyard.
When I go around public speaking, they're interested in the type of people that perpetrate these crimes, and they think that it's very, very.
What is this, Pet Cemetery?
Out of the ordinary, the backgrounds of these people. The FBI today.
Damn, that's pretty close.
The public to be looking for
Delphi anyway.
Signs of potential problems on individuals.
Better watch out for Sean Harmon.
Now you have the internet. You have the internet. You don't have to meet in some basement somewhere like the Klan did in the Nazi Party. You can inspire this hatred over the internet, and not everyone belonging to these groups will commit violence, but someone will observe action. Someone will out there, the general public, where this person has become obsessed with violence, obsessed with hatred toward blacks, toward minorities of any shade of color. And it's important, and so they'll be able to recognize some of these indicators here. Unfortunately, you can't stop somebody like Franklin. There'll be more Franklins.
Well, John Douglas, author of Killer Shadow, I can't wait to read it. I'm really excited to dig into it. Thank you so much for talking with us today. It was a great honor, and we wish you the best with this new book.
Oh, thank you.
John Douglas.
Thanks for.
Need to hold off on that one real quick. Okay. So we're pretty much coming to the end of the video. We're going to take a look at this local reporter here. She's local to this, of course, this news report. I couldn't find the actual interview because it looks badass, but something must have happened where she held on to it. She may have parted ways with the channel or the station. I'm not sure, but this is very interesting. They do dive into it, and then after that, I have a little treat for the true crime folks, and then we'll have a good conversation about that. This is about profiling, so will profile one of the most notorious serial killers pretty much known to mankind. So we'll talk about that as well coming up. But for now, take a look.
It's 9:24. Thanks for being with us on Live at 9. Michael Shane Townsend. You may not recognize that name, but thanks to WRAG investigative reporter Jessica Gertler and photojournalist Matt Brewer, we're learning a lot more about this confessed serial killer.
And while he's admitted to killing several women across the Southeast, it's his connection to the Mid-South, and namely Memphis, that sent our team to Florida to sit down with him. That interview is at the center of a 3-part series by Jessica, and she's here with more this morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take us back a little bit. A lot of folks may kind of wonder, how were you able to get in contact with them, and how did this come to your attention?
So we got a tip this summer, and we decided to follow up on it. And so we decided to communicate with him. And you know, I don't know if you guys know this, which I was totally new to this, but you can email inmates online through a system called JPay. So we sent him an email and thought maybe he'll respond, maybe he won't. And he did about a week later. And so we communicated with him for a few months. And then put in a request to go down to Florida and interview him. Yeah. And so we boarded a plane, and then we flew into Orlando, and it was about an hour drive. The facility he's in at the Sumter Correctional Facility.
Were you a little afraid or uneasy? I mean, have you ever interviewed someone like him who's killed multiple people?
Of course, no, I have not. And so, you know, it was very, we were very nervous walking in.
Kind of disconcerting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Matt and I talked about it the whole way down, and of course the night before, and we were thinking, you know, we don't really know how to approach this. And then even while we were in the room with him, too.
As we look at some of the video there from your interview, what was your gut feeling, Jessica? I mean, did he come across as being very forthcoming? And did he come across to you? I know you've interviewed many people over the years and have done many investigations. Did he seem to be believable and telling the truth?
So we were in a very small room, and so we were very close to him, and we were talking to him, and I do believe what he's saying. I think that he is very eccentric and has had a lot of drugs over the years, which he admits to. So a lot of his stories are a little fuzzy because of that. But essentially, I mean, everything that he has said that investigators have looked into add up. And a lot of the details that he remembers only a killer would know. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that he is believable.
Was he just passing through Memphis, or did he stay here for a period of time?
So he says he was here for a couple of weeks. But again, you have to remember he's on drugs, so we, you know, give or take, right?
4 years. This was when, back in the 80s or
early 90s.
Early 90s.
So he said he drove through Memphis. His father was a traveling musician, so he said he always loved the music here. And he, you know, what's bizarre to me is that amongst all of these crimes he was committing, he said he visited Sun Studio and went to Beale Street and listened to music.
And I assume until he was arrested for something else, because there were other murders after the Memphis murders, perhaps stayed unsolved?
Yes, so he went to jail for a short time. So essentially he went around and stole safes. And that's kind of what landed him in these different cities. So he went to jail for that. Right. And then when he got out about a few months later, he committed the murder that he's in jail for a life sentence currently right now in Florida. And recently, apparently he had met with a counselor inside this prison, and he said he wasn't sleeping well, and the counselor suggested that he just, you know, tell all. And so that's, so he had told a prison official there about it, and then hence how they you know, located Memphis Police, and that's kind of how it,
So what's next? I know a lot of folks will want to hear even more of the interview and your investigation. What comes next? When does it air?
So tonight at 5 is our next part of the series, and we talked to the daughter of one of the Memphis victims. And I think that is so important because the story is also about her and her loss and her family's loss. And, you know, she lost her mom at 8 years old.
Oh.
Wow.
So you'll hear from her, and I think that's so important because it also shows that, you know, he really impacted and affected families
Yeah.
right here in Memphis.
And for this woman's entire life.
Yes,
No
and
telling the
so
ripple
we
effect.
also will give you some specific details about this other unsolved case that he's confessing to. And so maybe we can get some justice for another family.
We'll be checking it out tonight at 5 right here on WREG. Jessica,
Please do.
excellent work as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good work by Jessica.
Began in June 9th.
Getting ready to close out the show. Talking about profiling and how basically the FBI doesn't know much about profiling until after they catch one of these 6 sons of bitches. And then they want to, you know, talk and kind of give us some insight. But they don't have much more than that. You have some profilers, you know, who can kind of break it down to a science. So that's kind of what we talked about today. So we're going to close it out in true crime fashion with one of the most notorious, and I believe profiling is what captured this individual, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look.
1984, Los Angeles was under siege. Death waited in the dark at the hands of a man they called the Night Stalker. After a 14-month reign of terror, he was finally caught. It was only then that his true identity was discovered. His name, Richard Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez's whole trip was to hide in a tree or hide behind a fence and watch his victims at nighttime and wait into the wee hours of the night. And then, while they slept, creep in, you know, like a coward, and kill them.
The Night Stalker killed at least 13 times, 13 people who were awakened in the night to face death. At least 15 others survived his brutal attacks.
I didn't particularly care for people.
In a rare interview, Ramirez refused to discuss his own crimes, but had this to say about serial killers.
A serial killer comes about by circumstances and like a recipe, poverty, drugs, child abuse. These things, you know, contribute to a person, to a person's frustration and anger, and at some point in life, he explodes.
Perhaps for Richard Ramirez, that anger and frustration turned to rage, which he in turn took out on his victims. His killings were so sadistic and brutal that even experienced detectives were shocked.
Well, he took a
They know who
woman
BG
in
is.
her 60s and stomped her
That's
to
why they
death
went to
with
the
his
younger
foot,
sketch. It's the
leaving
second
an
person
imprint of
they
a
caught
shoe
on
on the
camera.
side of her face.
And we
From
can talk about that.
to just executing
this.
somebody upon walking into a room after he entered a house. He strangled, he used a ligature, he used a tire iron on a young girl, beat her, left her for dead.
Will your anger subside if you had to wipe up your mother's blood? I couldn't
Can you
finish it.
believe
I had
that
to leave my
creeps into
brother
your
to finish
home
that
at
chore.
night? That's
Why
scary.
on earth would you have hurt those people?
But I'm ready for that
Why
shit.
did you kill those people?
No comments. No comments. I cannot answer that at this time.
What was Richard's motive?
To kill.
That's it?
To kill. It's as simple as that.
Richard Ramirez was raised in El Paso, Texas, the youngest of 5 children born to hardworking, strict parents. Eddie Milam was Richard's best friend back then and remembers when he began to change into a troublemaker.
I did start seeing something going wrong with Ricky Ramirez. I think what really messed him up was the acid. He would do a lot of acid. The stealing, you know, I noticed the stealing and then started as a peeping Tom and things like that.
Ramirez's passion for burglary earned him the nicknames of Ricky the Thief and Fingers. But Eddie knew Ramirez had other serious problems when he was fired from a local hotel.
He said he was fired, he was dismissed due to the cause that he had tried to molest 2 little kids that were going up the elevator.
By 18, Ramirez was a high school dropout drifting around California. He stayed in Skid Row hotels, never seemed to work, but always had the money to buy cocaine. Friends say the Richard Ramirez they knew didn't date and wasn't the type to commit such heinous crimes. But convicted murderer Martin Kipp, who befriended Ramirez in prison, says he heard another side of the night stalker.
Richard told me he needed to associate gruesome violence with sex in order to be completely satisfied. He also told me that he had to violently fantasize about his victims before he could go away sexually gratified.
They are desires, whereas if I didn't give in to them, I would be crushed by them. I believe in the evil in human nature. This is a wicked world.
Yeah, he's a trip.
In a wicked world, wicked people are born. I'm not going to blame society.
When I look at him, it's almost like it's like looking at a mirage. Like he's almost shape shifting to me. It's weird. Like he's almost like he's like possessed. I don't know how to explain it.
Race or people or anything. It is up to the individual like myself to keep on knocking on whatever door they want to get into.
Because the victims and the methods of killing were so diverse, many experts felt there was no one Night Stalker. Detectives Carrillo and Salerno disagreed and finally broke the case by matching shoe prints. The subsequent trial turned into one of America's most notorious courtroom dramas, punctuated by continual outbursts from Ramirez.
Merry Christmas.
In that trial, Ramirez's fascination with Satanism emerged.
As far as Satan is concerned, I believe in malevolent
so scary.
being.
Just thinking about that.
His description eludes me, but I have felt powers that are evil.
After an 8-month trial, Ramirez was convicted of all 13 murders and given multiple death sentences.
I don't care about myself, really.
Multiple death sentences.
I don't care about what happens to me.
So they should kill him.
I never did,
really. Give him a blood transfusion, bring him back to life, and then kill him again. Like they should kill him a whole bunch of times. Like if you get multiple death sentences, then you should die like each time. So they should bring him back so that they can do it again. Like a couple weeks later. That's the way I look at it. Anyway. But I'm not normal, I guess. A little depraved. All right, we're coming up to the 1 hour mark. Anything you guys want to talk about before we call it a night? Oh, here we go. Mandy's got one. Could one of the 6 devices KK had be one that pinged at the CPS, but someone else had it? Well, I still haven't seen any proof that anything pinged at the CPS, so I'm not sure. Ooh, blush. You can make me blush. Flattery. Such a strange thing. And why does it make people blush? What is that? Who do you like? What up? Possibly. Thank you. It's more persistence than it is anything. I can't help but meddle. I know, but why do you ask? And how do you know that? How do you know that I recently became friends? I mean, I'm assuming it's because you're looking into him. Yeah, me too. That's why I was surprised when he added me. I was like, all right, cool. He's a very interesting dude. I haven't checked out his Instagram. I just checked out his Facebook. But I mean, I friend requested him right away, so I didn't like try to creep on him. You know what I mean? He accepted my real Facebook also, so he knows who I am. Because I was looking into Delphi way before I started the Sleuth Intuition channel. I was just like a regular Joe, but I had my nose in everything. From the cut. You laying in the cut like peroxide? Well, if you can show me BG's jacket, then I can compare it to something. Trust me. I spend hours of my life looking at what BG's wearing, and I still don't know. So if you know, let me know. There you go, Curly. Very interesting person. Definitely fucking with me. So, but I'm ready for anything. I've been looking at that guy since the beginning. No, it's defamation at this point. This person has no it's like an obscure POI. He knows it. I'm sure he went through hell, so that's probably the only reason that he accepted my friend request was to fuck with me. But why? He only has 13 friends, which I thought was strange. He's a very interesting person. Yeah, that's my problem too. But the thing is that I know the consequences of being nosy, and I'm prepared for those consequences. I read all the Hannibal books and watched the movies. Yeah, he's active. He definitely knows about me. Probably knows what I did on my Facebook group. He may not be too happy about it, but I didn't judge him and I didn't make any accusations. but I did broadcast him, but only because he's already kind of like been broadcasted across everything. It may have worked. I was more inviting him to like try to reach out to me and talk to me. So hopefully he does. Maybe he doesn't. But I know that two of his friends, maybe it's not his friends, maybe it's actually fake profile. They're in the Facebook group. So a lot of creepy shit going on, but I'm aware of all of it. Like, as you see, when I line up, my lives, it's full of true crime and it's full of a lot of weird stuff that goes on. So the same thing that cripples these sickos is the same thing that makes them think they can get away with murder. So the same thing that's blocking their brain and making their ego so inflated that they're not going to get caught, or it's basically the same thing that makes them think they're too smart. So the same thing that makes them a killer is the very same thing that will get them caught in the long run, because it's a glitch. And it's a type of arrogance. It's like a reckless arrogance. It's not a sharp arrogance. There's a difference. You know what I mean? There's a difference between a ninja and a psycho killer. You know what I mean? Their motivations are completely different. One's rational, one's not. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. But we'll go ahead and we'll close it out at 1:15. So if there's anything you really want to get out of your system, now's the time. And there you go, Jenny. Merry Christmas, everybody. Definitely. Definitely should. I'm sure you'll get over it. I'm not your wife. I'll slap you back. All right, 5 minute. Looks like the 5-minute warning. Try to post everything I see from here on out. It's a drug, bro. It's a drug. Well, I don't know if you guys heard in one of the videos I played, the lady that was interviewing the serial killer, the investigative journalist, I think her name was Sarah something. She mentioned a website. So basically, if you go to this website, you can reach out to any inmate, like in a certain state, and you can email them. So you don't have to send them a letter and you don't have to do all this. You can just find them in this database and then shoot them an email. So I was wondering if we should shoot Klein an email, start asking him all these fucking questions. Yeah, we definitely need more like investigative journalism. Don't be afraid to interview people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So she says it's possible. Some database, you can just go right on the website and reach out to these inmates. Yeah, I don't know if that's local, state, federal, what is it? Well, looks like it's wrapping up. Well, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Probably going to head over to the Real Chill Garage channel and hang out. I'm pretty sure he's doing a Christmas special. I didn't mean to book over the top of him. But this was more of an informational live stream. His, of course, has more entertainment value, which is much needed right now. So we'll close out. Any lingering comments here? Merry Christmas, Karen. Appreciate it. Later. Man, you got some control issues. It's like no ice, then ice. Just calm down, bro. Calm down. Go do some push-ups. That's what I do. Alrighty. Boom. 1:15. Yeah, much love. Nothing but love, for sure. It's all love. Later, everybody.